Welcome, Leaning Forex channel.
Hey there, and welcome. Every financial chart you've ever seen, it isn't just a bunch of random lines and colors. Nope, it's actually telling a story. A really dramatic one, full of conflict, victory, and defeat. And right now, we're going to learn how to read it. Okay, let's be honest for a second. When you first look at one of these charts, it can feel like pure chaos, right? Just a total mess of jagged peaks and valleys that seem absolutely impossible to make any sense of. But what if I told you it's not chaos at all? It's actually a pretty simple story. It's the story of a never-ending fight between two armies. You've got the buyers, who we call the bulls, they want to push prices up, and then you have the sellers, the bears, who are trying to drag prices down. Now, to read this story, we first have to learn its alphabet. And the most basic letter in the entire language of the market is just a single candlestick. Think of each one as a snapshot of that battle over a specific period of time. The color tells you exactly who won that round. If a stick is green, the buyers, the bulls, won by pushing the price up. And if it's red, well, the sellers, the bears, won by pulling the price down. It's really that simple. Green for the bulls, red for the bears. So that thick, colored part of the stick, that's called the body. This is the main event, the core of the battle. And a big, long body, that means it wasn't just a small win. It was a total landslide victory for one side. And what about those thin little lines you see poking out? Those are called shadows, or sometimes wicks, and they tell a fascinating story of the losing side's failed attack. A really long shadow shows you that one side tried to push the price way out, but the other side just fought back like crazy and completely rejected that attempt. All right, so now that we know the alphabet, we can start forming simple words. You see, some single candlesticks tell such a complete story all by themselves that they can signal a major plot twist in the market. We're talking a potential reversal of the entire trend. Our first word is the hammer. This one is kind of like the hero in our story. It often shows up to save the day for the buyers, especially after a long period of selling. So picture this. Here's the story it tells. The sellers are in complete control and they're pushing the price down. And that action is what creates that long lower shadow. But then, just when it looks hopeless, bam, the buyers charge in with incredible force, pushing the price all the way back up. So what's the big takeaway? It's crucial. The hammer tells us that the sellers gave it their absolute best shot, and they were completely rejected. The momentum has totally shifted, the buyers are now in control, and that whole downtrend might just be over. Of course, every hero needs a villain, right? Well, meet the shooting star. It's the mere opposite of the hammer, and it signals that the sellers are getting ready to take over from the buyers. Here's the story of the ambush. The buyers are feeling great. They're confident, pushing the price higher and higher, and that's what creates that long upper wick. But right at the peak, the sellers launch a surprise attack, totally overwhelming the buyers and slamming the price right back down. The message here is crystal clear. The buyers have exhausted themselves. Their best attempt failed, and now the sellers have seized control. Yeah, the party might be over for that uptrend. So if one stick is a word, what happens when you put two of them together? Well, we start to form a sentence, and this gives us an even stronger, more reliable story about what's really going on in the market. One of the most powerful sentences out there is the bullish engulfing pattern. I mean, the name itself sounds dramatic, right? And for good reason. It signals a massive, sudden shift in power. So the story plays out over two periods. On day one, the sellers are in charge, even if it's just by a little bit. But on the very next stick, the buyers come back with such overwhelming force that their big green candle completely swallows or engulfs the previous red one. The meaning here is not subtle at all. It's a total regime change. The sellers didn't just lose, they were basically annihilated. For a trader, this is one of the clearest signals you can get that a new uptrend might be starting. Okay, we've learned the alphabet, we've learned words, and now sentences. So I think it's time to read entire chapters. These are the larger shapes on the chart made up of many candlesticks that tell a much bigger story. A classic story of failure is the head and shoulders pattern. First, the buyers push up to a peak. That's the left shoulder. Then they try again and succeed, making an even higher peak. That's the head. But on their third try, they start running out of steam and can only make a lower peak, the right shoulder. This shows pure exhaustion. And when the price finally breaks that neckline of support, the story confirms a bearish reversal is underway. And what about a story of suspense? Well, that would be a triangle pattern. As the source material puts it perfectly, the two sides are battling in a tighter and tighter range. This coiling action builds up enormous pressure, basically telling us that a big, explosive move is just around the corner. Now, knowing the language of charts is fantastic, but to actually use it effectively, you need to know the rules of grammar. These are simple rules that help you turn these market stories into actionable ideas. So we're going to distill all of this down to a super simple 4-rule cheat sheet that you can use to read and react to the market story with a lot more confidence. Okay, rule number 1, confirmation. Don't jump the gun on a signal. Wait for the very next candle to prove that the story is true. Second, context is everything. A pattern is way more powerful if it shows up at a known floor or ceiling for the price. Third, and this is absolutely crucial, always use a stop loss. This is your safety net in case the story takes an unexpected plot twist. And finally, know your target. Use the size of the pattern itself to help set a reasonable goal for your trade. So there you have it. You're no longer just looking at noise. You're looking at a real narrative of buyers and sellers, of hope and fear. You now have the basic tools to decode their fight. So the only question left is, what story are you going to find next?